My name is Joe, and I just turned 58 last month. I never thought I would walk out of my husband Frank's 60th birthday party, but that moment changed everything. After 3 years of trying to be the perfect mother-in-law to Megan, watching her pour wine for her mother while ordering me to wash dishes was my breaking point. Nobody even noticed when I quietly left my own home. If you have ever felt invisible in your own family, let me know where you are watching from and click subscribe. My story might help you find your voice too. I have been married to Frank for 35 wonderful years. We raised 2 sons, Brian and Timothy, who have always been my pride and joy. Brian, our oldest, married Megan 3 years ago, and I was genuinely excited to welcome her into our family. I had always dreamed of having a daughter, and though I was blessed with 2 amazing sons, I thought perhaps a daughter-in-law could fill that special place in my heart. When I first met Megan, she seemed perfect. She was smart, ambitious, working as a marketing executive at a prestigious firm. She had a warm smile and laughed at all of Frank's dad jokes, which immediately won him over. During their engagement, she would call me occasionally to ask about Brian's favorite foods or childhood memories for wedding planning purposes. These small gestures made me feel included and valued. The wedding was beautiful, and I tried my best not to be the stereotypical crying mother of the groom. I wanted to start our relationship on the right foot. I remember telling her as I helped with her veil before the ceremony, "I am not losing a son, I am gaining a daughter." She smiled, but looking back, there was something reserved in her expression that I missed at the time. After they settled into married life, I noticed that Megan always maintained a certain distance. She was polite, but rarely opened up about personal matters. When they would visit for Sunday dinners, she would help with setting the table or bringing dishes, but our conversations never went deeper than work anecdotes or comments about the weather. I told myself she was just shy or still getting comfortable with us. The first time I met Megan's family was at Thanksgiving, about 4 months after the wedding. Her mother Amanda was a commanding presence who dominated every conversation. Her father George was quieter, similar to Frank in many ways. Amanda immediately took charge of the kitchen arrangements, rearranging my carefully planned seating chart and suggesting changes to recipes I had been perfecting for years. I bit my tongue, wanting to make a good impression for Brian's sake. "My Megan has always been particular about holiday traditions," Amanda announced to everyone at dinner. "When she was little, we always had cranberry relish, not that jellied stuff. I made sure to bring my special recipe since I know how important it is to her." I noticed Brian squeeze Megan's hand under the table as my untouched cranberry sauce sat at the other end, barely touched. Still, I smiled and asked for Amanda's recipe, determined to be accommodating. As holidays and birthdays came and went, a pattern emerged. Amanda would frequently call Megan with emergencies when we had family gatherings planned. Several times our plans were canceled last minute because Megan's parents needed her for something. Brian always apologized, but never questioned these interruptions. When Megan announced their pregnancy, I was overjoyed. A grandchild was something Frank and I had been hoping for, and I immediately began planning how I could help the young couple. I knitted baby blankets, researched the safest cribs, and even took a refresher course on infant CPR, wanting to be prepared for babysitting duties. Amanda, however, had already claimed her territory as the primary grandmother. "Megan and I have already planned everything for the nursery," she told me when I offered to help. "We are going with a woodland theme using the same crib mobile that hung over Megan's bed as a baby. It is important to continue family traditions." When little Lily was born 8 months ago, I fell in love instantly with her chubby cheeks and Brian's eyes. I hoped this precious grandchild would bring our families closer together. I offered to help with night feedings or to watch Lily so the new parents could rest, but Megan always declined. "Mom is staying with us for the first month," she explained. "She has more recent experience with babies since her sister just had twins last year." The comment stung, implying that my experience raising 2 children was somehow outdated or insufficient. Still, I reminded myself that new motherhood was overwhelming, and Megan naturally wanted her own mother's comfort. I decided to be patient and supportive from a respectful distance, certain that our relationship would develop over time. The first time I truly felt the sting of rejection from Megan was when Lily was about 2 months old. I had stopped by their house with a homemade casserole and some groceries, just wanting to help ease their burden as new parents. When I arrived, I could hear Lily crying from outside the front door. Megan answered, looking exhausted, her hair unwashed and dark circles under her eyes. Behind her, I could see the living room cluttered with baby items, unwashed bottles, and laundry waiting to be folded. "I thought you might need a break," I offered gently. "I brought dinner and I could watch Lily while you take a shower or even just a nap." Her expression shifted from momentary relief to something more guarded. "That is really nice, but we are fine. Amanda is coming over in an hour anyway. She knows exactly how to get Lily to settle down for her afternoon nap. Last time she stayed for 3 days and completely organized our routine." I handed her the casserole and smiled through the hurt. "Of course. Just thought I would offer. The casserole just needs 30 minutes in the oven at 350 degrees. As I walked back to my car, I heard Megan on the phone, her voice carrying through the open window. "Mom, thank goodness you are coming soon. I am at my wits' end with Lily's fussiness. Joe just stopped by, but you know how I feel about her watching Lily. I never see her interact with babies, and her ideas about childcare are so outdated." The words felt like a slap. I had raised 2 healthy, successful sons, yet somehow my experience counted for nothing. I sat in my car for several minutes trying to compose myself before driving away. This became a pattern over the following months. Whenever I offered advice on teething or suggested a technique that had worked with Brian or Timothy, Megan would smile politely and then do exactly what her mother recommended instead. When I gave Lily a beautiful vintage teddy bear that had belonged to Brian, I later found it stored away in a closet replaced by newer toys from Amanda. What hurt more than Megan's rejection was seeing how Brian was slowly being pulled away from me. Our once close relationship had transformed into brief phone calls where he seemed distracted or in a hurry. The son who used to tell me everything now rarely shared details about his life or feelings. "How are things going with the baby?" I would ask during our increasingly rare conversations. "Fine, Mom. Look, I need to go. Megan's parents are coming over for dinner, and I need to pick up some things from the store." I once asked if we could plan a family picnic for the upcoming weekend, something we had done regularly when the boys were growing up. "Probably not this weekend, Mom. Amanda is taking Megan and Lily shopping for season-appropriate clothes. Maybe next month." Next month never seemed to come. I confided in Frank about my concerns one evening as we sat on our porch swing, the same swing where I had rocked both my boys to sleep during colicky nights. "I feel like I am losing Brian," I admitted, tears forming. "And Lily barely knows me. Megan always has an excuse why I cannot babysit or spend time alone with her." Frank squeezed my hand. "Give them space, Joe. They are figuring out parenthood their own way. Brian will come around. He is just trying to keep peace at home." "But what about our family traditions? What about my relationship with my granddaughter Amanda? Is there constantly, while I am lucky to see Lily once every couple of weeks, always under Megan's watchful eye, as if I might do something wrong?" Frank sighed. "I know it is hard, sweetheart, but pushing too hard might make things worse. Brian is caught in the middle." I nodded, knowing he was right, but the knot in my stomach tightened. The truth was, I felt replaced, sidelined in my own family story. The grandmother role I had dreamed about was being systematically denied to me, and my sons seemed unwilling or unable to stand up for my place in their lives. As the months passed, the pattern of exclusion only deepened. One Tuesday afternoon, I received a call from Megan that initially gave me hope. "Joe, I was wondering if you are free tomorrow morning. Brian has an important meeting, and I need to run some errands." My heart leapt at the chance to spend time with my granddaughter. Of course I would love to watch Lily. What time should I come over? Around 9 would be good. My mom is coming to go shopping with me for Lily's 6-month photos. We will probably be gone for 3 hours or so. The excitement deflated as I realized I was not being invited to join their shopping trip or contribute ideas for the photos, just provide free childcare while they made all the decisions. Still, I agreed eagerly, grateful for any time with Lily. When I arrived the next morning, Amanda was already there cooing over Lily in the kitchen. Megan handed me a detailed 2-page list of instructions for everything from Lily's feeding schedule to the exact language I should use when putting her down for a nap. "Mom found this great sleep training method," Megan explained, not meeting my eyes. "It is important we all use the same words and routine." Amanda chimed in, "Consistency is key with babies. When I raised Megan, I read every book available. That is why she slept through the night at 10 weeks. I bit back a reply about how Brian had not slept through the night until he was nearly 1 and that every baby was different. Instead, I simply nodded and took the instruction sheet. Also, Megan added as she grabbed her purse, please do not give her any solid foods. Mom thinks she is still too young, regardless of what the pediatrician suggested last week. After they left, I had a wonderful morning with Lily. We played peekaboo, I sang the same lullabies I had sung to her father, and she fell asleep peacefully in my arms without any of the special phrases on Megan's instruction sheet. I took a single photo of her sleeping face to cherish the moment, careful not to post it anywhere since Megan had strict rules about social media. When they returned laden with shopping bags, Amanda immediately took Lily from my arms to check on her, as if I might have somehow damaged the child in their absence. We found the most adorable outfit for her photos. Megan gushed to her mother, completely ignoring my presence. The photographer said the mint green will bring out her eyes. She has Brian's eyes, I ventured, trying to join the conversation. When he was her age, that same color made his eyes look almost turquoise in photos. There was an awkward pause before Amanda replied, actually, she has my side's eyes. That blue-green color comes from my father. I have all the family photos to prove it. I thanked them for letting me watch Lily and left shortly after the joy of the morning, overshadowed by the clear message that my history, my connection, my very place in my granddaughter's lineage was being erased. For my birthday the following month, I received a text message from Brian with a generic, "Happy birthday, Mom," and a promise to catch up soon. When I called to thank him, Megan answered and explained they were just heading out to her mother's house for dinner. 2 weeks later, social media revealed the elaborate celebration they had thrown for Amanda's birthday, complete with professional photography, custom cake, and Lily dressed in a shirt proclaiming, "Grandma's best gift." There were dozens of photos of Amanda holding Lily, opening presents with Lily, and blowing out candles with Lily on her lap. Brian had taken the day off work for the celebration. I showed the photos to Frank, unable to hide my hurt. "They did not even call on my birthday, Frank, but look at this production for Amanda." Frank frowned as he scrolled through the images. "That does not seem right. Have you talked to Brian about how you are feeling?" "Every time I try, he changes the subject or has to go. I think he is avoiding any conversation that might create conflict with Megan." The final straw came when they announced they would not be joining us for Thanksgiving, breaking a family tradition that stretched back to when the boys were small. "Megan's family has rented a cabin by the lake," Brian explained over the phone. "Her grandparents are coming from Arizona, so we really need to be there. Could you come for dessert later, or even breakfast the next morning?" I suggested trying to find any compromise that would allow us to see them. "Mom, you are making this difficult. It is just one Thanksgiving. We will see you at Christmas." But when Christmas plans were discussed, it became clear that they would only be at our house for a brief visit on Christmas Eve, with the actual holiday spent entirely with Megan's family. "Her traditions are important to her," Brian said defensively when I expressed disappointment. "And what about our traditions?" I asked, my voice breaking. "What about the ones you loved growing up, the ones you always said you wanted to continue with your own children? Things change when you get married, Mom. You have to create new traditions together." But it seemed that "together" only meant Megan's traditions, never ours. When I tried to give Lily a special ornament I had saved from Brian's first Christmas, Megan politely took it and said, "That is sweet, but we are doing a color-coordinated tree this year. Maybe we can put this somewhere else." That somewhere else, I later discovered from a photo, was a small box labeled "miscellaneous," stored in their basement, along with other items I had lovingly passed down, replaced by new items from Megan's family history. As spring arrived, my thoughts turned to Frank's upcoming 60th birthday. I wanted to make it special, a milestone celebration with both our sons and their families present. Timothy, our younger son, immediately agreed to fly in from Colorado with his girlfriend. The challenge would be ensuring Brian, Megan, and Lily would participate fully. I called Brian one evening in April, 2 months before the planned celebration. "I am thinking of hosting a special dinner for Dad's 60th birthday on June 12th. I would love for all of us to be together. Can you make sure you keep that date open?" "Let me check with Megan," he replied automatically. "She keeps our calendar." Already I felt the familiar sinking in my stomach, knowing that checking with Megan often resulted in conflicts or complications. Still, I pressed on with enthusiasm. I am planning to make all his favorites. Pot roast with those potatoes he loves, the ones that soak up all the gravy, and chocolate pecan pie for dessert. Remember how you boys used to fight over the last slice? Brian chuckled, a rare glimpse of my son beneath the careful husband he had become. Yeah, Tim always managed to sneak the last piece when no one was looking. Let me talk to Megan and get back to you. 3 days later, Megan herself called me. Brian mentioned the birthday dinner for Frank. We can make it, but we have a few concerns. My heart sank at her tone, but I kept my voice cheerful. What concerns? I want to make sure everyone enjoys the evening. Well, first, Lily is on a very specific diet right now. She cannot have any dairy, gluten, or refined sugar. Amanda has been researching childhood nutrition extensively. I bit back a comment about how both my boys had grown up healthy on regular food. I can certainly prepare something special for Lily. What else? We will need to leave by 8 at the latest. Lily's bedtime is very important to maintain. Also, my parents would like to join us if that is all right. They have become quite close to Frank and would hate to miss his birthday. This was news to me. While Frank was unfailingly polite to Amanda and George, I had never observed any particular closeness between them. Still, I wanted the day to be perfect for him. Of course they are welcome, I said, mentally recalculating food quantities and seating arrangements. Anyone else I should include? Actually, my aunt and uncle might be visiting that weekend. Would it be all right if they came too? They have heard so much about Frank. By the end of the conversation, my intimate family dinner had expanded to include 5 members of Megan's family, all with dietary preferences I was expected to accommodate, and a strict time limit that would cut the celebration short. Still, I threw myself into preparations determined to make Frank's birthday special, despite the complications. I spent weeks planning the menu, shopping for decorations in Frank's favorite colors, and creating a photo display of his life from childhood to present. I ordered his favorite whiskey, a splurge we rarely indulged in, and asked Timothy to prepare a short speech. I even crafted homemade party favors, little jars of Frank's favorite barbecue dry rub with custom labels. The day before the party, I baked his birthday cake from scratch, a 3-layer chocolate pecan masterpiece based on his grandmother's recipe. The house was spotless, the dining room arranged to accommodate our expanded guest list, and I had prepared separate dishes to meet all the dietary restrictions Megan had outlined. As I put the finishing touches on the cake, I allowed myself to hope that this gathering might be a turning point. Perhaps seeing our family traditions honored, experiencing the warmth and love I had poured into every detail, might help Megan understand that there was room for both grandmothers, both families in Lily's life. Maybe this shared celebration could build bridges where previous attempts had failed. With that hope in my heart, I went to bed exhausted, but excited for the day to come, unaware that it would become one of the most painful moments of my life as a mother and mother-in-law. The morning of Frank's birthday, I woke early to finish preparations. Timothy and his girlfriend arrived around noon, immediately jumping in to help with last-minute details. Frank was in high spirits, touched by the effort I had made, and excited to have both his sons under one roof again. "This looks amazing, Joe," he said, wrapping his arms around my waist as I arranged appetizers. "You have outdone yourself." I leaned back against him, savoring the moment. "You deserve it. 60 years of you making this world better, just by being in it." The doorbell rang at 4:30, and Timothy went to answer it. Brian entered first, carrying Lily, who had grown so much since I had last seen her. My heart swelled at the sight of my granddaughter, now sitting up on her own and babbling excitedly. "There is my birthday girl," Frank exclaimed, reaching for Lily. To my surprise, she went to him, happily patting his cheeks with her tiny hands. The ease between them suggested Frank had seen her more recently than I had, perhaps during lunches or visits I had not been told about. Megan followed, offering Frank a quick hug before turning to supervise the transfer of numerous bags and containers from their car. Behind her came Amanda and George, followed by 2 people I assumed were the aunt and uncle mentioned during our phone call. "Happy birthday, Frank," Amanda called out, bypassing me entirely to kiss Frank's cheek. "60 looks good on you." "Thanks for having us." George added, at least acknowledging my presence with a nod. Megan immediately began rearranging the living room, setting up what appeared to be a portable high chair for Lily and unpacking containers of specially prepared baby food. Mom made Lily's meals for today, she explained to no one in particular. She found an organic recipe that is perfect for brain development. I swallowed my disappointment at not being able to feed my granddaughter the special puree I had prepared and tried to focus on being a good hostess. Can I get anyone a drink? We have wine beer, Frank's special birthday whiskey, and non-alcoholic options. I brought a specific white wine that pairs perfectly with chicken, Amanda announced, producing a bottle from her bag. Shall I open it now? I know exactly how Frank likes his wine chilled. I glanced at Frank, who shot me an apologetic look before saying, Actually, Joe has already opened a nice red that is breathing, but thanks for thinking of it, Amanda. It was a small victory, but one I clung to as the evening progressed. The additional guests from Megan's family dominated conversation, sharing inside jokes and stories that excluded Timothy, his girlfriend, and me. Even Frank seemed sidelined at his own birthday celebration, though he maintained his usual good humor. When it came time for dinner, I had carefully arranged seating to alternate our family with Megan's, hoping to encourage blended conversation. But as everyone moved toward the dining room, Amanda began rearranging place cards. Megan needs to sit next to me so we can both help with Lily, she explained, moving my card from beside Brian to the far end of the table. And George should sit by Frank since they are discussing that golf trip. I opened my mouth to object, then closed it again, not wanting to create tension. As a result, I ended up seated between Megan's aunt and uncle, unable to even see my granddaughter from my position, while Amanda held court at the center of the table. Throughout dinner, I tried to engage to be the gracious hostess, despite feeling like a guest in my own home. I served the food I had spent days preparing, filled wine glasses, and tried to steer conversation toward Frank and his accomplishments. Frank just received recognition for 30 years at the company, I mentioned during a rare lull. The mayor even sent a commendation letter. That reminds me, Amanda interjected immediately. George just got promoted to regional director. They are giving him a company car and everything. Tell them about the benefits package, honey. And just like that, the conversation shifted away again. I caught Timothy's eye across the table, noting his concerned expression. At least someone had noticed the dynamic at play. After the main course, I stood to clear plates and prepare for dessert. I will just get these out of the way and bring in the birthday cake, I said, gathering a few dishes. That was when it happened. The moment that would ultimately change everything. As I stacked dinner plates, Megan reached for the wine bottle and carefully filled her mother's glass. Then, without even looking at me, she said, Joe, would you mind washing these dishes quickly? We need the dessert plates, and Lily spilled on a few of the forks. Amanda nodded in agreement. Yes, we should move along to cake soon. Lily will need to start her bedtime routine in 45 minutes. They continued chatting about Lily's sleep schedule as if I had already left the room, as if I were the hired help rather than the hostess, the grandmother, the woman who had spent days creating this celebration. I stood frozen, plates in hand, as the realization washed over me. In my own home at my husband's birthday that I had meticulously planned, I had been relegated to dishwasher while Megan served wine to her mother. No one offered to help. No one seemed to notice my shock. Not even Brian, who was laughing at something his father-in-law was saying, had registered the casual dismissal of his mother. In that moment, something inside me broke and reformed. A clarity I had been avoiding for 3 years suddenly crystallized. This would never change unless I changed it. The careful accommodations, the swallowed hurt, the constant compromises had not earned me respect or inclusion. They had only established that I would accept any treatment, bear any slight, to maintain a relationship with my son and granddaughter. Without a word, I set down the plates on the sideboard. No one noticed as I quietly walked to the entryway closet, retrieved my purse and keys. No one called out as I opened the front door and stepped into the early evening air. No one in the bustle of conversation and laughter even realized I had left my own home. The car dashboard clock read 7:15 as I pulled into the parking lot of the Lakeview Hotel, about 20 minutes from our house. I had driven aimlessly, at first tears blurring my vision, before deciding I needed somewhere to go. somewhere with walls and privacy where I could fall apart without an audience. The young woman at the reception desk looked concerned as I approached, my makeup surely smeared from crying. "Are you all right, ma'am? Do you need assistance?" I shook my head, gathering my composure. "Just need a room for the night, please." "Of course. ID and credit card." As she processed my information, I realized my phone had been buzzing in my purse. Pulling it out, I saw multiple missed calls from Frank and Timothy, along with a text from Brian that simply read, "Where did you go? Dad is worried." Not, "I am worried." Not, "Are you okay?" Just concern for how my absence was affecting others. I silenced the phone and tucked it away as the receptionist handed me a key card. "Room 304 elevator is to your right. Let us know if you need anything." The hotel room was generic and impersonal, but it felt like a sanctuary as I closed the door behind me. I sat on the edge of the bed, finally allowing the full weight of the evening to crash over me. The casual dismissal, the complete lack of recognition for my efforts, the way Megan and Amanda had colonized my home, my family celebration relegating me to serving staff in my own kitchen. Most painful was Brian's blindness to it all. My son, who I had nursed through fevers, cheered at baseball games, taught to drive, had become a stranger who could not see his mother's heart breaking. My phone buzzed again, this time with Frank's name on the screen. I hesitated, then answered. "Joe, where are you? Everyone is concerned." His voice was tight with worry. "I doubt that very much," I replied, surprised by the steadiness in my voice. "I doubt anyone noticed I was gone until it was time for the cake I baked to be served." "That is not fair. Of course we noticed. What happened? Why would you just leave without saying anything? Did you see what happened, Frank? Did you see your daughter-in-law pour wine for her mother and then order me to wash dishes? Did you notice that I was seated as far from my granddaughter as possible? That every time I tried to talk about you on your birthday, Amanda changed the subject to her family?" There was a long pause before he responded, his voice softer. "No, I guess I did not notice. I was caught up in conversations. I am sorry, Joe." "I am not asking for an apology from you. I am asking for understanding. This was just the final moment in 3 years of being pushed aside, discounted, and disrespected. I reached my breaking point." "Where are you now? Let me come get you." I told him the hotel name, not sure if I was ready to see him, but knowing we needed to talk face to face. While waiting, I received a text from Brian that made my blood boil. "Mom, I cannot believe you would ruin Dad's birthday like this. Megan is upset and Lily is picking up on the tension. This is so selfish." Selfish. After years of biting my tongue, accommodating Megan's every demand, accepting scraps of time with my granddaughter, and being treated like an afterthought in my son's life, I was being called selfish for finally standing up for myself. I did not reply. There was nothing I could say in a text message that would bridge the chasm of understanding between us. 20 minutes later, there was a knock at my door. Frank stood there, his expression a mixture of concern and confusion. "Can I come in?" he asked gently. I stepped back, allowing him into the room. He sat beside me on the edge of the bed, his presence familiar and comforting, despite the tension between us. "Everyone left," he said after a moment. "Timothy stayed to help clean up, but Megan insisted they needed to get Lily home for bedtime. Amanda said something about me calling when you had calmed down." "Calm down." I repeated the words bitter in my mouth, as if standing up for myself is some kind of tantrum. "Joe, help me understand. I know things have been strained with Megan, but walking out seems extreme." "Extreme. Frank, I have been patient for 3 years. I have watched my relationship with my son deteriorate. I have been denied any meaningful role in my granddaughter's life. I have been corrected, sidelined, and tonight treated like the help in my own home. What should my response have been? To smile and wash the dishes while Megan and her mother continued to act like they own our family?" Frank was quiet for a long moment, really hearing me perhaps for the first time. "I knew you were struggling with the situation, but I did not realize how bad it had gotten. I should have been paying closer attention." "Yes, you should have. But this is not just about you." Brian sits by and watches his wife and her mother treat me with disrespect. He has never once stood up for me or acknowledged the hurt. "He is caught in the middle, Joe. That is a difficult position. And I am his mother, The woman who raised him, who would have done anything for him. Does that count for nothing now? Frank took my hand. Of course it counts. We need to talk to him. But first, what do you need right now? Do you want to stay here tonight? I considered the question. Part of me wanted the solitude to process my emotions, but another part recognized that running away would solve nothing. No, I said finally. I want to go home. But things need to change, Frank. I cannot go back to accepting disrespect just to keep the peace. He nodded. I understand, and I am on your side. We will figure this out together. As we drove home, my phone buzzed with another text from Brian. Mom, you are embarrassing yourself. Megan says you are just being oversensitive as usual. Call me when you are ready to apologize for ruining the party. I showed Frank the message, watching his expression harden as he read it. That is unfair and unkind, he said firmly, and it stops now. For the first time in years, I felt like someone was truly in my corner, ready to help me draw the boundaries I should have established long ago. The week following Frank's birthday was a period of intense reflection and difficult conversations. Frank and I agreed that we needed to address the situation directly with Brian, without Megan present initially. We invited him for coffee at a neutral location, a quiet cafe halfway between our homes. When Brian arrived, his expression was defensive, arms crossed, as he sat across from us. I do not have much time. Megan's mother is only watching Lily for an hour. This will not take long, Frank said, his tone gentle but firm. But it is important. I took a deep breath, determined to speak my truth without anger or accusation. Brian, I need to tell you how I have been feeling, and I need you to really hear me. For the past 3 years, I have felt increasingly pushed out of your life. More specifically, I have been made to feel unwelcome and unimportant as Lily's grandmother. Brian immediately began to protest, but Frank held up a hand. Let your mother finish, son. You owe her that much. I continued. The incident at Dad's birthday was not isolated. It was the culmination of dozens of small moments where I have been dismissed, overlooked, or actively excluded. When Megan told me to wash dishes while she poured wine for her mother, it crystallized everything I have been feeling but trying to ignore. Brian shifted uncomfortably. Mom, you are overreacting. Megan was just trying to keep things moving since Lily needed to get home. Would Megan ever ask her mother to wash dishes at a family gathering? Would she seat her mother at the far end of the table away from her grandchild? His silence was answer enough. I have tried so hard to be respectful of boundaries, to not intrude, to accept whatever time with Lily I was given. But the truth is, I have been treated as less than as an afterthought, while Amanda is centered in Lily's life. Megan is close to her mom, Brian said defensively. That is natural. And your relationship with me was once close too, I reminded him gently. Having a strong relationship with Amanda does not require diminishing my role or treating me disrespectfully. There is room for both grandmothers in Lily's life. Frank leaned forward. Son, your mother is not asking for anything unreasonable. She deserves basic respect, especially in her own home, and she deserves a real relationship with her granddaughter. Brian looked between us, his defenses slowly crumbling. I did not realize how much this was hurting you, Mom. I guess I have been so focused on keeping peace with Megan that I did not see what was happening. I need you to see it now, I said firmly. And I need things to change. I cannot continue with the current dynamic. It is breaking my heart. What do you want me to do? I cannot control how Megan feels about you. No, but you can set expectations about how I am treated. You can stand up for me when I am disrespected. You can ensure I have regular, meaningful time with Lily. And you can speak to Megan about finding a balance that honors both families. Brian nodded slowly. I will try, but Megan can be stubborn when it comes to her mother. Then you need to be equally firm about your mother, Frank said. This is not about choosing sides, Brian. It is about fairness and respect. We parted with a tentative plan. Brian would talk to Megan, explaining that things needed to change. We would start with small steps, regular visits with Lily, where I could build a relationship with her without Amanda's constant presence. And most importantly, there would be clear expectations about respectful treatment. I did not expect immediate transformation, and indeed the first response was negative. Megan called Frank the next day, tearfully claiming I was trying to come between her and Brian, that I had always disliked her, that I was manipulating the situation. Frank gently but firmly held the line, reiterating that this was about mutual respect, not taking sides. 3 days of silence followed before I received an unexpected call from Megan herself. "Joe," she began, her voice uncharacteristically hesitant. "I have been thinking about what happened at Frank's birthday, and about other things too. I think maybe we should talk, just the two of us." I agreed, suggesting we meet at a coffee shop I knew had a small play area where Lily could be entertained while we talked. The fact that Megan agreed to bring Lily already felt like a small victory. When we met 2 days later, the conversation was initially awkward, both of us careful with our words. But as Lily played nearby, something shifted. Perhaps it was being away from Amanda's influence, or perhaps it was seeing me interact naturally and lovingly with her daughter, but Megan slowly began to open up. "I never had a good relationship with my father's mother," she confessed. "She always favored my cousins over me. I guess I have been projecting some of that onto you, expecting you to play favorites or criticize me." "I would never do that," I assured her. "All I want is to love Lily and to support you and Brian as parents. I do not want to take your mother's place. I just want my own place." Megan nodded, watching as Lily brought me a toy, which I accepted with exaggerated delight, making the child giggle. "My mom can be intense. She has always been very involved in my life, making decisions, taking charge. Sometimes it feels easier to go along with what she wants than to assert my own boundaries." It was a moment of surprising vulnerability from a woman who had always seemed so confident and composed. I recognized in her words something of my own struggle, the challenge of separating from a dominant parent to form one's own family identity. "It takes courage to create your own path," I said carefully, "especially when you love someone and do not want to hurt them. But Lily deserves relationships with all her grandparents, and you deserve to make your own choices as her mother without pressure from anyone, including me." Our conversation that day did not magically solve all the problems, but it opened a door that had been firmly shut. We agreed to regular grandmother visits twice monthly to start where I could spend time with Lily without Amanda present. Megan promised to be more mindful of including me in family decisions and celebrations. And most importantly, she acknowledged that her treatment of me at Frank's birthday had been disrespectful and apologized sincerely. The journey forward was not always smooth. There were missteps on both sides, moments when old patterns threatened to reemerge. Amanda was not pleased with the new arrangement and made her displeasure known. But with Brian now consciously supporting a more balanced approach, and with Frank firmly in my corner, I found my voice growing stronger. 2 months after the birthday incident, we held a small, intimate redo celebration for Frank. Just the 4 of us and Lily, with a simple meal and leftover birthday whiskey. As I watched Brian help Lily blow out a single candle on a cupcake, I felt a warmth that had been missing for too long. "Thank you for not giving up on us, Mom," Brian said later, as we washed dishes side by side this time, as a shared task rather than an assignment. "I almost lost something precious because I could not see what was happening." "We all have blind spots," I replied, thinking of my own failure to set boundaries earlier. "The important thing is being willing to adjust our vision." Frank and I found unexpected benefits from the experience as well. After years of focusing primarily on our children and then grandchildren, we rediscovered interests of our own. We joined a hiking club, took a cooking class together, and planned a trip to Maine, something we had talked about for years but never prioritized. As for my relationship with Lily, it blossomed in the space we had created for it. She began to recognize me, to reach for me, to associate me with the special songs and games that were ours alone. I was no longer a stranger to be viewed with suspicion, but Nana Jo with my own place in her expanding world. 6 months after I walked out of Frank's birthday party, Megan called with surprising news. "We are considering moving Lily's daycare days around," she said, "and I wondered if you might want a regular day with her each week. Mom has been watching her Thursdays, but honestly, I think it would be good for Lily to have time with you too." Those Wednesdays with Lily became the highlight of my week's sacred hours, when I could simply be a grandmother building memories and connections that no one could take away. The first time she fell asleep in my arms during our day together, I felt a healing of something that had been broken for too long. The greatest lesson in all of this was one I wished I had learned earlier. Respecting yourself is the foundation for others respecting you. By walking away that night, by refusing to accept disrespect and dismissal, I had actually opened the door to the relationship I had always wanted with my son and granddaughter. It was not about winning or forcing others to change. It was about standing firmly in my own worth and letting that clarity guide the way forward. Sometimes the strongest thing we can do is simply walk away from situations that diminish us, not in anger or revenge, but in the quiet certainty that we deserve better. If you have ever felt invisible in your own family, I hope my story reminds you that it is never too late to reclaim your place. Setting boundaries is not selfish. It is necessary for healthy relationships. Have you ever had to walk away to be truly seen? Share your experience in the comments below. And if this story resonated with you, please subscribe to my channel for more stories of family healing and personal growth. Thank you for listening, and remember that sometimes the quietest actions speak the loudest truths.